Welcome into a new BuffStampede Radio. Adam Munsterteiger, the publisher of BuffStampede.com, here with BuffStampede contributor Jimmie Searfoss, who is now a college graduate. He's all grown up. Jimmy, if you run across any Mrs. Robinsons this summer, maybe steer clear of that.
Will do, definitely.
Did you get that reference?
I don't know if I got that reference. Mrs. Robinsons? I pride myself on my reference game, but I don't know if I got that one.
Well, it just shows my age. Go back, watch The Graduate with Dustin Hoffman. It's a classic movie. But I want to hear all about graduation. So it took place about a week and a half ago. What were the highlights of graduation weekend? What were your emotions like? Give us the highlights.
Yeah, I wasn't exactly excited to graduate because I like being a student, things like that. I like CU. I like being in college. And no one's ever had anything really great to say about the adult life. Pretty much everyone said, "Oh, it's downhill from here." Like, so I mean, it was a bittersweet moment for me. I'll tell you what, actually, Adam, it was a long 4 days. It was like that whole weekend starting that Thursday was just a long 4 days. And I think I caught a cold because I wasn't exactly treating myself in the most healthy way possible. But, even the first day on Thursday, woke up super early after a night out and went and signed my name at the sink and just stood in line for, like 2 hours to do that. And it was a cool moment. There was a lot of people there, and it was nice seeing everyone again, especially people that maybe I didn't recognize from freshman year, or, it's been a long time since I've seen them and things like that. But it was a nice little moment. Steve Wozniak spoke at the commencement ceremony. He's a bit of an odd duck, but, all those smart guys tend to be a little odd. And then the next day, I guess 2 days later, that was the more personal one, and I got my degree or diploma holder. Not the diploma yet. I think that gets mailed down to Texas. So I have to go get
that. I wasn't aware of that tradition. I knew you could sign your name on the sink wall. That's only for graduates. Is that how that works?
Yeah, I don't know if it's always been just for graduates, but I know for a fact that they did that, and I honestly didn't know about it until about 2 days ahead of the graduation. Okay. So if you ever see my name up there, make sure you point it out. It's like right in the entrance, I think, close around.
And I love it. During the graduation ceremony, you're still given video board updates at the same time as giving a selfie. You've obviously poured a lot of your heart into CU. What are your favorite moments when you think back to your time as a student at CU?
You know what? Pre-prime, it was that Cal game. I had a fantastic time at that Cal game. I had a really good job.
That's pretty sad, Jimmy.
I know. I had a really good time because I was working for the SID at the time, and I was working with a photographer named Tony, who's got 1.5 million stories. He's just doing a photographer as a side gig. He's a fantastic guy. You're ever going to talk to him? Talk to Tony. He's got like a crazy life. But he was letting me take pictures because he was like, well, this game, there's only 1 in 1 million of these games because Colorado sucks. We didn't know that Colorado was going to be great, or not great, but exciting. And I got to take pictures of Coach Sanford and then the win, and everyone went crazy. And I was trying not to hit people with this huge $10,000 camera as they were coming down into the stadium. But other than football, that Arizona game with Evan Batty, that was a great game too. I was a student for that one. I got lucky to be a student for that. So I was able to get onto the court and storm it and listen to Evan and all that. That was a really fun night too.
Today's episode is brought to us by Macaulay Capital Fractional CFO Services. Is your business looking for financial guidance and support, but not yet big enough to hire a full-time CFO? Well, we have a solution for you. Hiring a fractional CFO who can work with your business on a part-time basis. You get the benefit of having a seasoned financial expert on your team without the commitment or expense of a full-time hire. And here's the best part. It's likely that a partnership with Macaulay Capital will be a win-win situation, meaning that your business will make more money from the guidance of a fractional CFO than the total cost of partnering with us. For more information or to set up a meeting, please visit MacaulayCapital.com. That's MCCAULEY capital.com. CU has sold out Folsom Field in terms of the season ticket holders, and I would imagine when those single game tickets come up there, they're gonna sell like hotcakes, and we're gonna again have just an electric atmosphere at Folsom Field. It's kind of an interesting feeling, Jimmy, is that I've covered Colorado teams where the coach is on the hot seat, and so there's a lot of pressure as far as that goes. Obviously, Coach Prime is not on the hot seat, but because of the microscope they're under, because of all the attention they get, because this is Shedeur Sanders and everybody assumes Travis Hunter's last season, there's so much pressure building up to this season. And so even 4-8 couldn't kind of damper the excitement. You mentioned that Cal game in 2022. CU fans have probably supported this football program more than it deserved. A lot of the time that I've covered the program, a lot of the time that you followed it, and so it's cool that there are these expectations. But the other day I was thinking like this is going to be kind of nerve wracking going into the season because there is so much pressure on this team.
Oh yeah, except the crazy thing is I don't know if the Sanders ever really feel that pressure, feel nerve wracking because I've never seen these guys crack. I mean, I don't know. They are fantastic on the mic. I mean, they seem really cool, calm, and collected in these playoff games. I think we saw Shedeur make like a few mistakes down the line in when crunch time in these playoff or not playoffs, but during the football season and stuff like that. So I don't know how much the pressure really gets to a guy like him. And I think that's a pretty impressive thing to have in your toolbox, especially when in terms of thinking about what makes a quarterback a good quarterback. So, but on the other side of it, I am thrilled to see that they sold out those games. Folsom has a real nice spectacle too. I like looking at it from a broad sense. Like when I go down to the field and you can see all the fans just like lining because there's that one end of the stadium that's just, that's a little bit bigger than the other side. And it's really nice to see it all just filled up to the brim, especially that CSU game. I don't know if you remember that CSU game was packed. They said that it wasn't the most the stadium's ever been filled up, but I think that was the most that stadium's ever been filled up for a football game that I've ever seen, even from last year, because there was people on the walls. There was so many people that snuck into that stadium. That's after that they had to implement some more barriers and make it harder for students to get in just because for safety reasons, because it was dangerous. It was dangerously packed in that stadium. And they were making fun of people for getting onto the field after the game. I think that was more of just a safety concern. Like, I don't know how I'm going to get out of here unless I let it clear out a little more and run onto the field here. So I'm very excited to see what this fans look like this year.
Yeah, if you're media, it's really tough to go from one end of the field to the other end of the field. You basically have to go in the stands to kind of cut through that first row to get down there. And I remember going into overtime of that CSU game, I was thinking, okay, if the action's going to be on the other side, I'd like to go down there because I want to be close to the action to see what's going on really close. But it was so packed that it was like, if I try to do that, I might not get down there and I might not get back for the post game press conference. So it was a different atmosphere at Folsom Field last year, and that's again maybe the expectations we should embrace that more because we just haven't had that around Colorado a whole lot. But I want to go back to your early beginnings as a student at CU, Jimmy. You come in really in the height of the COVID pandemic, right? Was your freshman year 2020 or
Freshman
2021?
year was 2020, and it was the height of the COVID pandemic. I just came up to Colorado from Texas. My high school baseball season got canceled, my last one, no prom, and then we had like a weird graduation in the Texas heat because we weren't allowed to do it indoors. That was brutal. And then I came up here, and me and my roommate, who was doing similar stuff to me studying wise, we watched the first CU game with Sam Neuer against UCLA from our apartment or from our dorm. Ordered chicken wings and just kind of watched the game. It was for what it was. It was bad, but those COVID years, I think about it a lot, and then I think about it in terms of what the freshmen are getting now, and I'm like, dang, I missed out on a lot. just things like CU holds a concert at the beginning of every year, Welcome Fest. I mean, we didn't get one for 3 years. Like this year was my first ever one, and they bring out some pretty big names to that. So I'm a little disappointed in how it went. I mean, I think I made the best of a tough situation, and I don't really blame the university for anything like that because it was just a bad situation for everyone involved. But I started, going to classes and stuff like that sophomore year because they had one class per semester that was in person. And I was like, I really want to get more involved just because I want to see more of this campus. I want to see more of everything, what they have to offer, especially on the athletic side of things. I mean, this is what I want to do when I'm older. I got to start getting involved. So I started writing for the student newspaper at the time, and my editor was Nikki Edwards, who
Nice.
is writing for Rivals. So that was a fun little full circle moment when I finally got to sit on the same writer's row as her. But then I was also writing for, like, my uncle had a sports podcast at the time. So that's when I DM'd Adam. He was like, do you have any work? And I was like, yeah, here's these few articles that I have for my uncle's sports podcast. So that's when I was first dipping my toes in the water. And then I started working for the 24/7, just with Adam and you, and started taking off from there on that spring game. I think it was sophomore year. I was thinking about this the other day. It's been a while. I've been working with Adam here for a while, so it was a nice little moment for me thinking about it. And then I worked for, like, the SID. I worked for the sports information department, and then I worked on the side. I had a little radio show on Fridays. I still do that, I guess. And then all the same time, I had a regular job putting in 25 hours a week minimum at the Easton Training Center. So, and on top of that, being a student, I was looking back on it, I was like, I worked a lot in college. So I'm proud of it.
That's going to serve you well going forward. And you said that, I think when you're older and you talk to a graduate and you say it all goes downhill from here, you're kind of projecting, maybe you have some unresolved things with yourself. Life can be pretty awesome. And I think if you have that just innate work ethic, you're going to be successful. And so you have that. And that's one of the things that impressed me about you. And I'm glad you reached out. And I remember that spring game because I forget if it was Jack Hystera or Charlie Offerdahl, but you asked a question and I was like, okay, he's not scared by this media scrum scenario. That's a good sign. And then like you said, it kind of took off from there. And you did stuff with CUSID for basketball and football, and kind of transition into a heavier role with us. And it's been great to have your help. I'm trying to think back to, was it the 2022 spring game?
Yeah, it was 20. We called Darrell, and there was no one there, but it was really cool. I was really excited to be there. I was just kind of like wide eyed and stuff, and I was like, oh man, I got to toss a question out. I mean, I don't even know if it wasn't even like a good question, but I was like, I got to get something out here, and it was fighting for my life in that media scrum because it was a lot less organized than they are now with the Prime, and they all have the microphones and stuff like that. But there was all just crowded around one person. I was fighting to get that question in. I was going to get a question in.
So you go from, was it Jack Hystera or Charlie Offerdahl?
It was Offerdahl. Charlie Offerdahl.
Okay.
I mean, the story there was just the walk-ons performing at the spring game, and then Charlie Offerdahl was the one that kind of stuck out, and he still doesn't give longer answers than like a sentence at a time. So he responded to like my question with like a 1-sentence answer, and I was like, oh, it's a terrible question. Dang it. But I was like, I figure I get the reps in, get the question out.
And it's all come full circle. Now you're this budding journalist, and Charlie Offerdahl was again in the post spring game press conference, and he was more polished. He was pretty impressive in that press conference.
Yeah, and he didn't even play. So, and then with that running back room is now, he might have to have a little bit bigger of a role too this upcoming year. So.
Well, we might have some news on that front pretty soon. So I think he's going to get some company in that running backs room.
I hope so. They need it.
Who's your favorite athlete that you covered and followed during your time at CU as a student reporter?
I did. I mean, for all the football work that I've done a lot of the basketball stuff, and KJ Simpson has been very fun for me just because I remember watching him. Even my sophomore year, I was like, that guy's a freshman. And then I started doing more work with, for covering the basketball team. And he's such a great interview and a really likable kind of guy to be around. And he's always, takes time to talk to everyone and things like that. And then he just goes out and performs on the court. He's got crazy heart to his game. And I really respect it. And he's kind of made people pay attention to him and take him seriously in those NBA draft talks because he's not the biggest guy in the world. and he knows where his weaknesses are and he knows where his strengths are. And he went out and he went and fixed it, and he got better in certain aspects of his game. And you go out and you watch him play, and you're like, that he has to be paid attention to by these NBA scouts. So I think he's really been one of them that I can really attest to, enjoying covering and things like that. And then Tristan De Silva too on the other end. Just kind of, we're in the same class, so watching him grow as I grew was pretty cool for me.
Yeah, I mean, KJ's efficiency this past season was honestly something I never expected out of him. And he was a great player from the second he stepped foot on campus. But to raise it to that level, it was cool to see him go out to the NBA combine and do well. And now, a lot of mock drafts have him kind of on the verge, whether he's going to be a late first round, early second round pick. So that's cool to see. You mentioned Evan Batty earlier in his senior day. He might be my answer here because even one game, I forget who they were playing, but my wife and our three kids all came out while I was covering the game. So they're in the stands. I'm over in the media area, and I went to the post-game press conference. So my family's just kind of hanging out by the parking garage, and I walked out with Evan afterwards. We just happened to be leaving the arena at the same time. And he not only like came over and talked to my family, but like was like hanging out. At some point, I was like, I got to pull my family away from him. He needs to go home. They just played a basketball game. So his love just for people and the environment and for CU, and he's a big part of TBT now. And
Yeah, I saw him the other day at the Dark Horse. I was just walking by. I was like, oh, who's that? Seven Mag. So that was kind of a fun moment for me.
Yeah, I
But
think he
that's
played
cool.
in
Yeah.
Switzerland this past season professionally.
Yeah. I think he's been doing all right out there in Europe. I've casually been paying attention to, but I think his stats are looking good. But it's like those guys kind of embody what Tad Boyle likes and
Oh
what kind
yeah.
of everything Tad Boyle stands for: developing guys, watching them grow up, and especially, I mean, Evan Batty. His story is crazy, just with everything that he's gone through with the stroke, and then developing into the player he was, and then everyone still looks up to him. He's graduated like 3 years ago, and everyone is still saying his name in that locker room. So it's funny. And then KJ is a big Batty guy. He loves to talk about Evan Batty, and he spent like a year with him. So I just think it just says a lot about the guys that Tad Boyle brings in, and just the way that program runs.
All right. So you said covering the Cal game was your favorite moment as a
That
as
or
a
Nebraska.
student. What's that?
That or Nebraska CSU. Those
Okay, okay.
Nebraska CSU.
Well, I was going to ask you your favorite moment from 2023. So you got to pick
Oh,
there.
okay. Okay. Yeah, I'll save it for it. Oh, I have to make a pick there? Oh
Yeah.
man. Um, I love that CSU game. So I did those tailgate takeover videos, and I think those were my favorite ones to do. Just kind of walking around in that stupid, not stupid, but it was fun. Gold jacket, just interviewing fans before the game. But we had a really good bit for Nebraska where I was just kind of handing out corn to people. I was trying to see if the Nebraska fans would shuck the corn. Only one of them did. And then I was handing them to students and seeing what they would do with corn. I just handed it to them, and they would stomp on it or yell at it, cuss it out, whatever. But there were some fun moments in that CSU game too, or pre-game. But I think the CSU game takes it just because that was a 24-hour day for me. It was get up for college game day at like 4 a.m., get down there and cover that, take pictures, see The Rock, see all the celebrities, see Offset and things like that. And then after that, it was like me and Nikki and Romy Bean just kind of going around, just kind of saying hi to everyone, looking out all these, like, because the Big Noon was there, college game day was there. And then after that, Nikki was like, well, I don't want to go back to my house. Can we just hang out at your place? And then we just all hung out, my roommates, we got burgers and stuff like that. And then we went back to the stadium to cover. She was going to do her pregame coverage, and I went to go do my video. And then after that game went double overtime, ridiculous. The press conference was lasting until like 2 a.m. I think I wrote till 3, got home around 4. And I was like, wow, that's a 24-hour day. But it was the funnest day I think I've had covering any college sport, covering anything really. It was a heck of a time. I had a great time doing that one.
That's awesome. So I got to know, is there a beef with Matt Smith? What's the Twitter dynamic there?
I don't know. He just likes to poke. He likes to poke. It's funny. Because because he'll just start talking. I didn't even know who this guy was till the press conferences, and then I started following him, and then I saw you two are real close and stuff like that. But I'm like, this guy's just like nagging at me. He's just I'm gonna get him back one day. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm still I feel like I'm still on the lower totem pole of it. So one day I'm gonna be a little higher, and I will be match, and I'm gonna start talking my ass. So one of these days I'll get back at him. But he's a nice guy. We talked, and he's very supportive of everything. So I really appreciate that. But he's gonna get out of my Twitter comments at some point.
Yeah, it's funny, like it's human nature. And I'm sure you saw this when you went to in-person classes. It's like you pick your chair and then like everybody just goes back to that chair the rest of the time for whatever reason. It's like human nature. It's like, okay, this is my vantage point. This is where I'm comfortable. So in the press conferences, I get there really early every time and I just kind of sit in the same area. And it's always Matt Smith and Brian Howell. And I feel like the way we conversate with each other is very much similar to the way brothers talk to each other.
Yeah. Yeah. I was proud. I mean, I was in those press conferences room too, but that's when I know I really made it up in this world, when I started getting my own little tag on the press conference world and the press conference room. That's what because I was proud, because I was like, oh, I got my connection with Curtis in the SID when I worked for him, and now he knows me, and now I have my own little seat, and I'm like one of the younger guys in the room. So that was like a full, like, I did the right thing. I'm really proud that I did this moment for me when I worked with the SID. So that was a cool moment for me too in that press conference room.
Speaking of Twitter beefs, I've had a couple over the years. I'm sure you're aware of a couple of them, and it's funny because I've told my wife this a couple times. I say I'm done with that. Like I'll come back and I'll have opinions. Obviously, in this job, you have to have strong opinions, and I do. I feel very strongly about certain things. There's some things, if I don't know, I'm gonna be honest about it. And for whatever reason, some people just get under my skin. It's not many. It's been maybe I could count on probably one hand, maybe two in 21 years. So I think that's okay. But they're very public beefs a lot of the time. And this last one that happened with the Athletic article, I put out a few X posts on that, but didn't go. I was out of the country at the time that this all was going down, so I kind of stayed out of a lot of the drama. The Gavin Cold stuff, I just completely steered around because I don't think a fifth string quarterback deserves any recognition. I shouldn't even have mentioned it on this podcast, to be honest with you. But there is this CU versus everybody feeling that a little bit last year, but it's really taken off to another level this offseason. And a part of that, I think, is that folks that don't have access to Coach Prime in the program feel like the way they can get clicks on Colorado is to just really be negative, and then this creates all of this controversy and drama. From your experience being a CU student, has that reached the student body? Like, is there this feeling, or is it college kids are just having a great time and they're not really paying attention to all that stuff?
I think it's more the latter. I don't know if really this has gotten to the students a whole lot. I think you have your students that are in these Twitter spaces and things like that, because that's where a lot of these fights happen, is on Twitter. But I don't think your average student is on Twitter fighting about Colorado. They're sitting there in the creek right now, just having a great time, because it's been beautiful out here in Boulder, Colorado. So I don't think this has really reached the student population. Now on game day, those students are rowdy. They're there. They're, talking and saying horrible things to the other team. And it's kind of fun to watch. But on Twitter, not really. It's a lot of the same people you're seeing fight. You look at the accounts and stuff like that, and it's a whole lot of the same kind of names popping up. So I try to stay out of it. I don't really bother with any trash talk or anything like that. I think everyone's family does very well in defending themselves. And I don't know if they need me to help out with anything like that. And I think everyone else does a great job defending this program, and I'm just here to tell the news of the program. But I don't think the student body is really getting into these beefs at all.
Well, I already tried it with Matt Smith. I'm trying to create a beef here. It doesn't sound like that's going to happen on this podcast.
I'm a nice guy. I'm not trying to get no beef with nobody.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, let's go lighthearted on this next topic. I want you to rank your favorite 3 food spots in Boulder as your time from your time as a student? Because I'm curious how that matches up with kind of the general population and kind of how Boulder is viewed.
Yeah, I tried it. I like to eat a lot. My roommates like to eat, but from a student point of view, because you have to go out and you go to your nice restaurants in Boulder. Boulder definitely has its very nice restaurants, but from more of a student point of view, starting at number three, Audrey Jane's Pizza Garage is my favorite pizza in town. It was on Guy Fieri's show. It's a fantastic slice. They got both the Detroit style and the thin crust style. All of it's good, and they have very good ranch. So that's number three for me. Number two, Peckish, very fun in the football side of things. That's where I watch the TCU game. They got kind of a good sports bar feel to it because there's really not a whole lot of sports bars here on campus or even around Boulder. They tried to open up one called the Sophomore. I don't think it's doing too hot right now. It was on Pearl Street, and it would take 30 minutes to get a burger about this big. And it was like way too expensive. But Peg's just got very good wings. They got my favorite wing. It's like a honey voodoo thing. It's called. I don't know exactly the name. I know when I see it. And then a very good lemon pepper wing, which I can really appreciate. And then the Dark Horse, simply because it's the cheapest place I can get a burger and a beer. It's got a good vibe to it. I had a fun little full circle moment on my 21st birthday because my dad went to see you and stuff like that, and he got his first legal beer at the Dark Horse, and so did I. So it was kind of a fun little moment for me.
Yeah, we had a Buff Stampede small get together too, and you came out for that. That was a fun time. I haven't got any updates on the Dark Horse lately. Has there been any word about what's going on with their situation?
I don't think it's looking good, to be honest. I haven't
Okay.
heard. I've not heard
Well,
good
the
things.
last I heard is that they were maybe going to have to relocate and they were going to try to take a lot of the relics and things that it just that's going to be hard to pull off
It is going to be hard
because
to pull off. And I think
yeah,
the big issue right now is that there's really not a whole lot surrounding the Dark Horse right now. I mean, there's not another bar. So you can't go from a place to a place. There's a
yeah.
new McDonald's there. I mean, there's the student housing, but the students can't drink. And then there's just that little kind of shopping mall area over there. It's all kind of a rundown spot, and I get why they want to renovate it, but there's just not a whole lot of room for a Dark Horse Boulder right now, and it's kind of really sad to see. I really love it there.
Yeah, and you mentioned there like really aren't good sports bars in Boulder. That there's been that Ralphie's that was on Arapahoe. I forget what it was called before that, and um, there were actually quite a few people there every time I went there when they had a sports bar open there. But for whatever reason, I don't know if it's bad management or what. But yeah, there has not been a sports bar that's really consistently stood the test of time in Boulder. In terms of hangout spots, bars, what are your favorite places from your time as a student at CU in Boulder?
Like I said, there's not a whole lot to pick here, but the Downers got to be up there because that's kind of a notorious Boulder student hangout spot. The line's always wrapped around, and I'm always wondering, these things are definitely fire hazards. It's like an
Yeah,
underground basement,
yeah.
and there's like 300 people in there. This is not safe at all. And I'm looking at the vents, and there's like a bunch of dust in there. If anyone lights a match, it's like game over for everyone involved. But that's kind of a cool spot. You had to fight, throw elbows for some pitchers or anything like that. But it's fun because I get to see everyone, and then I'm always saying hi to everyone. I'm a notorious yapper, so I'm always chatting everyone's ear off whenever I go out and see everyone. And then after that, I love the Spotted James. It's kind of a controversial take. It used to be the Walrus, from what I understand, but it's the only place where you can find some consistent music. And they got a dance floor area. I like to move and groove, so it's a good spot for me to get involved. And then the bar, I mean, you're not going to get the biggest drink in the world, and it's going to run you a little bit, but I like it just because it's the closest thing you can get with a dance floor. So after that,
But by the
um,
way, sorry to cut you off, but the Walrus is the only place I've thrown a punch in the state of Colorado.
hey, we've almost had to get into a few. We never did, but we we almost
It was like a basketball fight. Hold me back. But yeah, we got carried out.
I wouldn't mess with no Adam punch. Adam's like 6'2". He's smaller than
I'm
me.
not a fighter, but yeah, I mean, there's a certain line like that you cross. But yeah, I mean, the
Yeah.
gosh, that might have been. I got to at least put out there that this was like 15 years ago. So
And
All
then
right,
actually
number one.
number one, it might actually be the Spotted James, but I do like
Okay,
the attic
okay.
as well. The attic as well. That is a good little area. Once you get in there, it's kind of you got to take some steps to get up there. But
Yeah.
once you're in there, it's a cool area because they have this drink, and then they like the Fat Albert's what they call it. It's like, like lemon juice, Kool-Aid, and vodka. I actually hate it, but I like the fact that they have a drink that everyone likes. It's not my favorite drink in the world, but the fact that they have a drink that everyone likes is really nice. It's got a cool like little aura to it, and they have proper ventilation and air conditioning, so you're not sweating your butt off when you're in there. So I can really appreciate a place where I can be comfortable, and I can be pretty comfortable there.
Well, I appreciate the fact that I'm familiar with all three of those spots. I thought you were going to throw out three spots that I'd never heard of, and that would make me just feel
Oh.
even older. Now, obviously, the Walrus is rebranded, but is it? Have people told you if it's a similar vibe? I've not been into the new spot yet.
There are no nuts on the ground. So
Okay.
I don't think it's a similar vibe at all.
Okay.
And then yeah, it's just I don't know if the Walrus, I don't know really know what it was like in there.
Is
So
there a very strong stale beer smell that just hits you the second you get in there?
no, it actually smells like armpits and farts sometimes, just because people are kind of gross in there, just because they are dancing and stuff like that, and it's not a properly ventilated area, and that's why none of my roommates like to go with me when I want to go. So, but I like to dance, so I go in there and I try to get my thing going on. But that's why I like it in there. It's a cool little lighting area and stuff like that too.
So your hatred for the Dwayne Physics
Mm.
Building is something that has been, if you follow Jimmy on X/Twitter, like you know that this is a real thing. It's been happening for a while now. I need the origin story here. I mean, I get why you don't like it. It is an eyesore. It definitely blocks the view from Folsom Field of the Flatirons. Does it go beyond that? Is there something else here that really created this hatred that you have? Does it go back? You said your father had his first legal beer at the Dark Horse. Is this like a family lineage thing? How far back does this go?
It is just me, but I'm proud to say that I've started a movement. So some of these freshmen came in here, and I think they think that it's like a tradition to hate on this building. It's not. It's me. I just don't like this building. I really don't like this building. And it was funny. My mom was talking to me about my Twitter bio and how I need to change it from CU alum to, or from CU student to alum, and I did. And I saw my Dwayne Physics Building hater in there, and I was like, I'm actually gonna keep that there. I'm gonna that's my legacy and things like that. But sophomore year, I had an astronomy class in that stupid building. It wasn't even in the tower, but I was not happy because that was a terrible class. It was an 8 a.m. astronomy class. I would go in there, fight for my life to stay awake. And it was like an entry level class. It was one of the easy, I needed a lab, and it was one of the easy astronomy classes. So I was like learning that the earth is the third planet from the sun and things like that. And it was just super, super simple stuff. And I hated the class. And the professor would make us go outside sometimes. And I did not.
How dare he make you go
I know.
outside,
How
Jimmy?
dare he? But if it was any other time other than 8 a.m. in the morning, I would be all for it. But I would be outside and he would like make us spin around to think about the orbit and the way the earth moves around the sun. And I would look at this stupid building. And I was just like, this doesn't fit in anywhere on campus. I needed somewhere to point my hatred to. And I didn't want to do it towards the professor because I needed a good grade in the class to pass. So I pointed at that stupid building. And then I look at it, it's in the eyesore. It's an eyesore on campus. But one of the guys, I think it was on the Folsom Frenzy podcast, pointed out that it is a great area to study in once you get to the top of it. And I couldn't get to the top of the one that's closest to Folsom Field, but I got to the one that's a little bit further into campus. And it is a really nice view. It's very nice. I went up like on a weekend, and I learned, I guess I wasn't supposed to be up there. It's supposed to be for physics students, whatever, nerds. And I went up there and kind of looked around and hung out in there for a while, got some work done. And it is a very nice view of campus.
So you said this is going to continue on. This is not, you didn't graduate from your hatred. It's going to be something that you continue to build a legacy for future generations.
Of course. Yeah, I'm hoping so. And then maybe one day I'll get like a brick at Folsom Field that says "I hate Dwayne Physics" or something like that, that people can walk on and look at.
That's funny because there was a building when I went to school at Arizona State that I was taking a creative writing class, and this was part of like the journalism curriculum. You can't just write about sports all the time, right? They make you take other classes, and so we were supposed to take our journal, and this mean teacher again to your story made us go outside, and we had to pick a building on campus and tell its story. And I'm sitting there, I'm looking at this building. I was looking it up. I'm trying to, oh yeah, it was the Harrington Burchett House. And I'm trying to look at the picture. No, that's not it. What is it? There was a building on campus. I'm going to find it here. And I stared at this thing for like 20 minutes. And I was thinking I was a sophomore at the time, fresh fall semester of sophomore year. And I said, I can't do this. I want to write about sports. That's my whole childhood, all I did leading up to this point. And I actually, as a result of this stupid building, having to write its story because I couldn't tell its batting average, I couldn't tell how many points per game it scored. I couldn't give you analysis in terms of its upside, its ceiling as a player. That I actually went in back in and I said, I'm going to change majors. I went to criminal justice because of this building. And then I took an internship with a juvenile probation office. And I mean, that was heartbreaking. Like just seeing these young kids that it was 90% of the time, it was the parents that were the problem.
Yeah.
And I realized during that internship, there's no way that I could not take this home with me every day and just have it affect my day. And so I veered back to sports journalism, but a building on campus almost changed the trajectory in my life as well. So we have that in common.
Don't let the building win, Adam. You can't let the building win. Also, look at the back. Look at the background of that picture. There it is. Look, you see in the back, behind the football.
Yeah.
There it is. Dwayne Physics.
Right,
it watches over
right here, just in case.
It's always watching.
Yeah, it is. So, and then my first interview was Dustin Pedroia. He played at Arizona State when I was in college there, and the rest is history. But yeah, I'm glad that building didn't get the last laugh on me, and hopefully you get the last laugh on Dwayne Physics. Hopefully before sometime in your life. I don't know, dynamite. What do you want the end game to be here for that building?
Well, it would be hilarious. I've always wanted a building named after me. If I could get it named to the Searfoss building, that'd be kind of funny. It'd be kind of funny moment for me. But
no pressure in life. You're gonna have to do some things to get that.
I plan on having a fulfilling life enough. I'm at least getting like a bench or something at CU. I better get something. I'm determined to get my name on something at CU. So I almost got it. We were talks of like getting a table for the broadcast team and stuff like that at CU because we just have like a regular table and it's all green screen. I was thinking maybe I've been lobbying for a table for a while now. It's going to be Jimmie's table. So I'm going to figure out a way to do it, but it's going to be in my name.
So you're a college graduate. Maybe this is too soon to ask this, but is there anything you're looking forward to in terms of the future now? Is there a freedom that you feel, or has it not sunk in yet?
I don't know if it's sunk in yet because it's still summer and for as far as I'm concerned, it's all felt like summer. It still feels like a summer that after a semester. I think in the fall, it's really going to start setting in like, oh boy. But I got some nice stuff lined up. I got an internship down at 9 News in Denver. I haven't even really announced it yet, so I guess I'm announcing it now. But I'm very excited to look forward to that. They want me to hop in and help out with some sports stuff, so I plan on getting involved there. And I think it's a fantastic opportunity to even just network at the minimum and just kind of get the ins and outs of the sports broadcasting world from the sports broadcasting world. So I'm very excited for it. And I think I know a few big names down there. So I'm really looking forward to getting down there and doing that.
Who all is down there in their department right now?
Scotty's down there. I mean, Ariel Sudo's down there and stuff.
Yeah.
Or the heck off down there. And then in like Kim Christensen was in the interview process for me and stuff like that. And I was another callback to my SID stuff. I mean, I worked with her son doing the SIE work, so she kind of knew who I was already. And then it was funny in the internship interview process because they were like, so how do you approach social media and stuff like that? And I was like, well, let me tell you about Twitter. And they were like, oh, do you have a following on Twitter? I was like, I've been fighting tooth and nail to get my name out on Twitter, in this Buffs world. So it all kind of helped. It was fun having that in my back pocket because I'm on Twitter so much and I try to interact with a lot of people. But it was nice working all that and having it lead up to something, and then this is going to lead into something even bigger. So I'm not officially in adult world yet, but I'm getting there.
What are you going to miss most about being a CU student?
Probably walking on campus because it is such a pretty campus, and it's easy really to take it in. And it was one of the things I missed the most freshman year, so I really valued it, in my later years at CU, just being able to walk to a class on campus. And I live right at the bottom of Folsom Field. So whenever I do walk, I have to walk up that huge hill every single day. But, it's one of those things that you hate and then you learn to love. So that's probably it. It's just got such a good vibe to it. What a Boulder thing to say. It's got such a good vibe to it. And I'm definitely going to miss walking around and having a purpose going where I'm going, as opposed to just walking around just to see.
Can we share the Nebraska week story?
Nebraska. Oh yeah. All right. Yeah. Go for it. Do you want to tell it or do you want me to tell it?
Well, I'm going to tell it and then I'll get your reaction and you can fill in any points here. But I think was it a Tuesday, right? Or a Monday?
It was a Tuesday.
It was early during Nebraska week. And I appreciate you. Yeah, I think you had a lot going on that day, but you showed up for the press media scrums and the week of Nebraska. Well, I'll let you tell this part of it. What color were you wearing?
I showed up in my red shirt from work. I opened the gym. I wasn't even planning on going to this press conference because I didn't go to the ones on Tuesdays because I opened the gym at 5:45 in the morning, and I normally didn't get the shift. I didn't get off by the time the press conference got done. But this day, I was really excited because I got off early, and I was like, "All right, I can get there." So I showed up, and everyone just looked at me like, "The hell are you doing?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" It was Matt Smith, I think. He was like, "Hey, buddy, look at your shirt." And I was like, "Oh crap!" And then there was like 10 minutes till the interview came out, or the guy came out from the presser. I ran to my car. Thank God. Or maybe I ran to my apartment. I either one equal distance apart, ran there, found a backup shirt or a shirt from my apartment, ran back up. I was there. I made it on time for the presser.
You have pretty good cardio because I definitely didn't expect to see you back by the time that press conference started. And you were back. It really was almost like a superhero situation. And you just were back with a different shirt and was like, what the hell?
I'm determined. I take my job as a serious journalist seriously, Adam. So I was gonna get my stuff in. I'm gonna get my question. Damn it.
All right, let's have a quick football topic here in terms of the upcoming 2024 season. The players are about to report for their summer work here at the end of the week. Over Memorial Day weekend is probably going to be kind of a transition period with a lot of the newcomers coming in and then hit the ground running next week. As we sit here before that summer work, what are your biggest reasons for optimism and pessimism when you think ahead to this season? Glass half full, glass half empty kind of feelings towards this program as we go into those summer months.
People keep asking me, like, hey, is this team going to be better? And I'm like, is the offensive line going to be better? Yes. Then I think this team's going to be just fine. Defense, whatever. It's the Big 12. You're going to score a lot of points. Can you protect Shedeur? Yes. I think if you can protect Shedeur, you're going to have a better season. I think the defense has gotten better, and I don't think that defense has gotten worse. I think this team's gotten better generally at every position since this portal opened, except for maybe running back, but you said you might have some news on that right now. I don't know if the running back room's necessarily, if I'm completely bought in on everyone yet, just based off what they lost and what they're bringing in. But I think the offensive line is the biggest reason for optimism. And then, you got a good offensive line, and maybe you don't need your superstar running back. Maybe you just need a guy that can get in there and take what the offensive line gives. And I think that's going to be the biggest reason for optimism on this team.
What about pessimism? Is there anything that stands out there?
Pessimism, I think it's mostly other people talking that are bringing all this pessimism in. I don't really see a whole lot of reason for right now, except for maybe just
Yeah, I
that
mean, you
running.
mentioned running back. Yeah, you mentioned running
Yeah,
back.
I mentioned
Yeah.
running back, but I think that's mostly the biggest cause for concern. Maybe some linebackers, they could use some linebackers. Uh, but other than that, I think this team's pretty set. I would like to maybe learn some more from the coaches. I want to hear more, just more about who they are and how they coach and stuff like that, because I am worried about the influx and outflux of coaches, especially from the defensive coordinator, offensive coordinator situations. I don't like seeing a whole lot of change, consistent change in those kind of rooms, because I think it takes coaches to build a class and build a room and develop your guys. But a lot of the core guys are still there. I'm just interested in seeing what the defensive coordinator brings this year.
Yeah, it was an interesting dilemma last fall when, okay, it's clear it maybe was it like 6, 7 games in, 8 games in that Sean Lewis and Shador just were not meshing.
Yeah.
So for the sake of continuity, you can't keep that together. Like, so you've got to make that change. And it is challenging. And, I think there was, there's concern about just some of the new coaches from Livingston with a lack of defensive coordinating experience, Pat Shurmur being in the NFL for so long, having to kind of learn the college game, and that, maybe those 4 games last year helped, even though it wasn't his offense. So that is maybe the glass half empty approach, is just, Phil Loadholt, this is his first full-time, assistant coaching gig in college as far as being the offensive line coach. But those 3 guys, everything that we've heard and seen from them this offseason, it sounds positive. It's just until you
Yeah.
get hit in the mouth, you don't really know how that's all going to evolve. But the fact that they mesh so well with Coach Prime and Shermer with Shador, and then we hear the defensive players like they want to play in Livingston's scheme because it allows them to play fast. It's not this bogged down, think too much system that some of the guys complained about last year. So that part of it makes you optimism. It's really kind of, I go back and forth on that all the time.
Yeah, and I'm just hoping that everyone gets along. I think that, like you said, just there's relationships issues between maybe even like Shador and Lewis last year, and I'm hoping that everyone's getting along. I think Shermer and Shador have a positive relationship, and I think that's pretty much all you're going to need on offense this year. I mean, if everyone can just get along, I think they're going to have a great uh, time on offense, and the talent's there on the offensive line. Uh, it's really, I think, just down to Loadholt's coaching ability, and from what I've heard, it's pretty good. I got a buddy down at OU, and that's where he spent a lot of time, and he covers some sports down there. Shout out to Hayden, but he was letting me know only good things about Phil Loadholt. So I'm excited to see what comes out of that room and things like that. I was a little surprised with the departure of defensive coordinator last year, just because everyone seemed to like him a lot. Coach Prime seemed to like him a lot. He seemed to be pretty big on him. Maybe just want to go back home, a little closer to home and things like that. But I'm hearing all the same good things about relationship wise between the coaches and the players this year.
So you have your upcoming internship at 9 News. I believe you're going to still have your job that you had throughout college. Is that correct?
Yeah. I'm just gonna stick around here. I mean, I want to stay in this area as long as I can. They got the Boulder bubble is not a lie. This is a nice little place to be. So I'm gonna stick around here as long as I can, because I like the community around here and things like that. I got a good gig that I work up here at my front desk job, so it's a fun place to be. And I'm hopefully going to be still putting out some articles for 24/7 here in the summer.
Absolutely. And that leads me into my question. Now, if you don't have anything going on, is it July 19th that the
But
EA NCAA football
oh
25
yeah,
is coming
oh
out?
yeah, oh yeah.
Okay. So if you don't have any other responsibilities, this is a great content piece we could have on buffstampede.com. So we got to figure out how to make that happen.
Oh yeah, for sure. I would love that, and then even just things like maybe getting another like CU Buffs reporter league going. That'd be cool. I think that'd be a
Well,
tight.
just one requirement: the gold jacket has to be worn
I
during
can
this,
do that.
because
I can do
we gotta throw this into like a video review type of
that.
segment. Back in the day, I used to like camp out at GameStop, and I would
Hmm.
get the players going to buy the game when it came out, and it was a cool feature. People loved it, and have the controversy over everybody's ratings, and it was
Yeah,
such a fun story to do every year. It's been a long time since they put out that game. Now, I don't think anybody is actually going to get the tangible copy, right? So I don't think that's a content idea.
I will. I'll go get it.
You will. Okay.
I'm going to go get the hard disk. I bought the PlayStation that comes with a disc holder just because I wanted to get the disc version of this game. And I can't believe I got a Colorado. There's a Colorado player on the front of it, which is mind blowing because Colorado's always been terrible. They've always been so bottom of the barrel for everything I've experienced growing up and things like that. I was like, oh, Colorado, you're a fan of Colorado? Why would you be a fan of Colorado? Because I am. I like the black and gold. But to see
So
that they're at the
what's
top
the
of the
strategy when you get the game? Are you going dynasty mode right away with the buffs, or
dynasty mode,
are you taking over New Mexico State? What do you like to do?
so to be honest with you, I've never played an NCAA game. I didn't really have a PlayStation growing up that could like handle that. I had a PlayStation 1. I played the hell out of Crash Bandicoot in NHL 94. But I didn't really have like an NCAA game. I guess I did. There was one NCAA game, and except it was like 98 and it looked like Minecraft the way these pixels were on the screen. But so I'm really excited. Everyone's talking about dynasty mode. So I guess I will start off with dynasty mode and I'll take the buffs to the Holy Land.
Awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to it, continuing our partnership together and seeing you continue to grow. And again, congratulations on your graduation. Definitely more of an informal podcast here, but this is the time of year to do it. And it was
Yeah.
great. Hopefully, people enjoyed kind of just hearing your story, because I think all of us, when we talk to a college graduate, and hopefully it's not a just, well, you're in the real world now, so good luck. And I don't like that. But what I do like is talking to graduates, because it kind of takes you back to that point of your
Yeah.
life. And I was shared a couple stories from my college days. And so thank you for taking the time out to join us on the podcast. We'll get you back on here again. We do have William Gardner coming on the podcast later this week. I'm sure I'm going to do something with Big Dog Chico soon. I'm sure I'm going to catch up with Brian Howell soon. But Jimmie, again, enjoy your summer when you're not you're grinding, because you're a natural grinder, but you still got to enjoy the summer for sure.
Of course. I mean, I just spent, the other day up at the creek just kind of chilling and tossing the football around with the bros and stuff like that. It was a good time. It was a good time.
All right, Jimmie. Well, I appreciate you for joining us, and thanks everybody out there for tuning
Thank
in.
you.